Welcome, everybody. How's it going? Since I've been live a good minute. I wish I could say just waiting, just sipping out of coconuts. Not coconuts actually, because I'm low-key allergic to those, but sipping out of something nice. I did get to, vacation a little bit, relax, but mostly just in preparing work everything back. For those who don't know, I selected to be a part of LinkedIn's first ever creator accelerator program, which was really fun, really nice. I enjoyed it. But it was exhausting. It was exhausting. I was tired afterwards. I need to take a break. I still work a job, demands everywhere. And also just really taking time to enjoy life and sit back. I'm bringing everything to months, but I'm excited. I'm excited. But really cool to share about the working while black. And today's show is like a perfect way to start it all off. I'm a content creator, but a podcaster first. My podcast journey has started at time when I started really taking it seriously was 20. Already kind of did a lot of trial and error. I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. I was doing more interviews, having conversations with people, and then finally launched in 2020. I guess I'm a late bloomer. Y'all takes me a minute to get things started sometimes, but I launched it. It was fun. It was amazing. It was like I thought I knew now. I launched it. Man, there's so much more to learn, so many more people to meet. Like, oh my God, I had to start following new people to learn from them and just trying to understand this podcasting space. And then I'm like, okay, not just a podcaster, I'm a black podcaster. That means something different. So I was like, okay, where are my people at? Where are my people at? First of all, I got to shout out Blast Club because that was the first group that I found. First podcasting community that I found and got to learn from, create with, meet a lot of people. And then from there, it just started meeting a bunch of people, seeing all these groups. And I was like, wow, we're really out here for real. We might not, not everyone is out here like top levels, where a lot of us are in here at different levels doing something really amazing. And like maybe around 2019, I started hearing about this other group. I started hearing about what they were doing, bringing people together in person. And like the name was like a meeting. It's like, oh yeah, that's for us. That's for us. And then I started hearing more about it. Started meeting more people who are following a part is really dope, dedicated to supporting in this podcasting space. That group was Afros and Audio. And since then, I kind of followed. I followed from a distance because I was still working on my stuff. I was like, okay, yeah, I want to go, but I can't get there in person. I started doing some things virtual. Chance. Last year, I got to speak at a conference, and it was amazing. There was a lot of people. There's this really beautiful community, the space where everyone's kind of dedicated to growing their show and helping people as well. Um, but yes, I've been talking to everyone. Feel free to come know how you're doing, where you're coming from. What's up, Vanessa? Good morning to people all the way out in the other side of the world. Good afternoon to people who still working. Excited to see y'all again. So in today's conversation, I'm speaking with several people who are part of the Afros and Audio team to learn about, really gain insight from them. Industry, it's booming. It's been on the come up, but it started to happening all at the same time simultaneously in this circle, in that group, over there in Australia. Australia is like, I don't know, I think they got something secret going on over there. I'm trying to figure out what's happening there because I always see really cool things happening. Australia. Where you go, I'm here in Atlanta, and it's just interesting seeing all these specific events in the city. I see different groups coming up, like creators are everywhere. So now more than ever, it's really important for us to learn about community. What's up? What's up? I see you coming in from Rochester, tuning in. And then I have a question for y'all, actually. For all y'all tuning, it's a question I'm asking each of our guests tonight. But it's, are you a podcast host or podcast professional? Because it means something different, right? When you're a podcast host, I started off as a podcast host, had my own show, growing it as a host for to talk about my show and everything like that. But last year, last year I got a job as a podcast professional, and at that point, it's like I'm living this dual life. I felt like I had to simultaneously grow in each area, and it's like different techniques, different methods. It was like I'm not just talking about my show, but also trying to grow my brand. So I'm really curious. Like, where, how do you what do you step first with? Does that make sense? That question, or are you a podcast host or podcast professional? That's first question of the evening. And we got a lot more people copping in. What's up, Demetrius from Brooklyn, pod professional over here, y'all. The Black podcasting and we'll get out. They've already accepted submit for this year. I think their award's coming up a little later. Demetrius, let us know when the actual award show's happening, and there may be a few more options for judging. But I'll be sharing more content on that later. But make sure you're following Demetrius Black Podcast to that out. What's up, Raphael? You look for where to comment. What's good? Not using Melon, not using Melon. I'm using Restream. It's a really dope platform. Melon is cool as well. I did get it. So I saw you in the live the other day. But yeah, using Restream. I need for this live. Wasn't familiar with Easy, how to use it. That's not an ad, but if you want my affiliate link, let me know. All right, y'all. More comments in. I'm gonna get back to you in a second, but I want to bring up our first guest, our first of three. I want to bring up to Talib, who is the founder of Afros and Audio. Not just leading those movement because he's very community led, but driving force. I'll call him that. So welcome to the one.
I'm doing good, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Now, I would love to spend this whole time just talking about everything you're doing. But first question, right off the bat, we're going to talk about Afros and audio and later on. But first question, podcast host, podcast professional, lead with.
Definitely a professional, podcast professional.
Yeah. Why
Yeah.
is that? Because I know you've started off with your show, and since you've helped a lot of
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
with their shows, but why professional?
Well, I've never been a host. I am that's soon to come. I'm working on my own podcast, but since I started as a producer, director, and writer of my first of the first podcast show I ever did, and that was a short comedy fiction podcast, about 4 episodes, limited series. But I was all in the background, and and beyond that, ever since then, I've been obviously Afros and Audio, building that community, supporting people in their production and all that sort of thing, but also producing storytelling podcasts. So I'm more of a producer, more of a community builder, soon to be a podcast host, but we're not there yet.
I feel it. I thought you started off with the host. Well, I learned something new, y'all. I learned something new. And let's see, with a few more people in, but I want to give a few quick shout outs. I see you, Dominic, in here. It's a podcast professional. Demetrius followed back up. Last award ceremony, September 25th, 2 p.m. Eastern. I can make that and still have a Sunday dinner afterwards, too. All right, next person. Oh, we have Latrice Sampson Richards. Welcome to the stage, Latrice. How you doing?
Hi, Walter. I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. In the very, 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 very beginning, when I first started this live, when I was talking about wanting to follow and meet new people, Latrice is one of those faces I saw popping up everywhere, and I was like, okay, I gotta make sure I always make like following what she's doing. So it's a pleasure, honor for me to have you. It's an honor for you, of course, to live. So, so
Apologize.
Latrice, same question: are you a podcast host or a podcast professional first?
Yeah, I am both. actually. I started as a podcast host, producing my own show, Unicorns Talk Podcast. Y'all check that out. And uh, and that just kind of transitioned into being a podcast professional. So I hold a lot of different hats in the podcasting realm. I do producing. I started a production company called STS Productions, and I'm working on a couple of different projects under there. I do some production work with Vangaurd, which is the creative arm of Afros and Audio. Stories All Around Us is the name of that podcast. Y'all check that out. Just a little shameless plug. So, I'm always working. And I also do a lot of hosting. I do a lot of, trainings and things like that. And actually, I will be hosting this year's Black Podcasting Awards. And so I'm very, very excited about that. Demetrius already put the date and time in the comments, but I had it on my list of things to make sure that people know about.
Okay, that's what's up. I didn't even know that. That's what's up. So
Yes, that's brand new
all about, right?
information. That's brand new information for the for the
We
public. We
getting
just
a
just
premiere?
now, well, not quite a premiere, kind of
You could
sort of.
lie to
We
me.
announced it yesterday. The other day I did a IG live, and that was the premiere. But this is only the second time that we talk. It's the first time on LinkedIn, so that counts.
Oh, okay. I'll take that. You'll hear here first. Man, we got minutes, but there's one in particular so I gotta bring up. Raphael, what's up, Raphael? He said Talib and Latrice are amongst my podcasting heroes. I feel that.
Appreciate
Appreciate
that.
you sharing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, thank you.
Love that. All right. But we have another person coming up, another to have on, Nicole Walker. Now, well, let me bring you on first, then I'll talk about you. What's up, Nicole? How you doing?
Hey everyone, glad to be here.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I'll jump right in and answer your
Oh, let's
question,
go.
right?
Let's do it.
Right. So I am also both a podcast host as well as a podcast professional, currently still hosting my show that has been going on for 4.5 years, When Hers United. I am also a podcast professional. So after podcasting for about a year, I decided I wanted to help other people with podcasting. So I started doing webinars, went into coaching, recently added podcast analytics into the mix, right? So helping people with their podcast analytics and figuring out that data to then be able to pitch to sponsors, and also helping Afros and Audio with sponsorship management and getting sponsors for the festival. So I think those are all my things in relation to podcasting. It's probably more, but that's all for now.
Sure.
There's always hats. We're all multi. I love that. Just a really cool observation I gotta make is I just love that there really is a team, and not just a team, but everyone has their kind of main roles and how they help out in other ways as well. That's kind of beautiful when different minds could come together like that. So just we've already been able to create love. We got Raphael coming again. Got to tell us about that earring. Love it. Yeah, I love those. You coming in correct. I love it. I love it. Let's see. I think a few more shout
Them
outs
some
real
nice
quick.
earrings, Nicole. I like those.
Nice. Actually, yeah, we're
Don't ask me that. Now I don't remember. You know what? Natural for a Reason, I want to say. A woman that we met at an event, and I follow her, but her brand is called Natural for a Reason. That's where I got these earrings.
okay. I love that. And if that's not in many ways.
Okay.
All right. So I'm this conversation, Afros in Audio Podcast Festival, the 4th annual one. It's coming up in October. So like that sounds like a month away. But you already know how time works. Like tomorrow's gonna be October before we know it. But just in addition to that, just the podcast industry, I think it's really important to have this conversation because it's not slowing down. I remember when I was getting into it as a native, not just a listener. And people, podcast, what? Okay, you could do that, but that's gonna be your thing. Like, find something else. But since then, it's picked up and just continuing to go faster and faster. Like, I see new innovation and tech being created every single day from social media. Um, that's even how you get sponsors. There's more and more available to an everyday creator, and then that's just like lifting everything up. So like we're in the space where it looks like there's too many podcasts, but really what we're seeing is just a rise in podcasts as well. Observations, but the people who are in this for real, each of you, some of both as well. But when you look at the podcast industry today, what do you see? And for everyone tuning in, I want to hear what you think as well. What would you say is the current state of podcasts?
In general or specifically for Black podcasts?
I'm always cast, but I'm just curious to hear what comes to your mind
Yeah.
first.
Well, I'll go first. I mean, for me, I think that podcasting is really, I think in a lot of ways still establishing itself, but is established well enough to make it very clear that podcasting ain't going nowhere no time soon, which I think is something that is very exciting. One of the things that I love about podcasting more than anything really is that like there is a relatively low entry barrier for entry. And so, anybody, literally anybody can start a podcast. That don't mean it's going to be a good podcast, but they could start a podcast. And so I think that, that the idea that anybody can get in, anybody that wants to be creative, it gives voice to anybody that's looking to have that voice, to share their voice. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think the creativity is off the charts. The opportunity for creativity is off the charts because there's almost nothing that you can't do with a podcast. And I think that again is very, very exciting. And so as I grow, and I think as we grow and we make it a point to really understand what is possible in the space, and making sure that we have Black creatives being represented at every level, in every facet. I think it's just going to get better and better because we all know once the Blacks touch it, it's like gold. It's a beautiful thing. So I'm very excited about the direction of podcasting specifically for Black creatives.
I love that. When we
Yeah.
touch it, it
Nicole,
turns to
you wanna-
gold.
Yeah, I'll jump in from my data analytics hat, right? Like in relation to podcasting, especially for Black podcasters, from the, what is that, the Edison report, they talked about how people want to see or hear from people that look like them and that sound like them, right? So although there are a lot of podcasters out there, are there enough Black podcasters out there? Are there enough Black podcasters talking about specific topics that run the gamut so that individuals of color who want to hear from someone that has the same dialect as them, and speak in the same way that they like to speak, are talking about, right? So I think that is something that we need to pay attention to, that Black people need to be represented and represented in all types of podcasts because people are out there saying that they want to hear us. And are we there?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with both of them for sure. And thinking about podcasting in its infancy or its toddler phase or what have you, I know at the 2019 conference, our inaugural conference, it was spoke about as the beginning of rap, right? When rap first got on the scene and people saying what it was and what it wasn't, and thinking that it didn't have much longevity to it. But look at how much it's evolved, and year after year, there is an evolution of it. And so there's this opportunity here where we're in this foundational stage of it, where we get to really shape this. I'm a big, I love Nina Simone and that thing that she says all the time, the iconic piece about artists shape, the world and shape what is created and what gets put out there. And if the artists aren't shaping it, then we're not, then it won't be shaped. And so that's for me the same as podcasting. The podcast industry is nothing without its podcasts. And so it's important for folks that create podcasts, produce podcasts, to do any work inside of podcasting, to understand the power inside of that. If not for you, this industry cannot be. And so that means that there's a lot of ways in which we can shape this in a way that works for us, supports us. And if we don't do that, if we don't take that time to do that, then we will allow it to just kind of move without us, and we're in a passenger seat. And that's true for most industries. That doesn't have to be true for podcasting. And so we have to understand how powerful we are inside of this industry, and the way in which it will be shaped now and in the future. And that's one of the reasons for Afros and Audio, is to be able to have these conversations, have as many people in the room at the same time to say, listen, it's up to us, how this is going to look. And so I love, just like Latrice and Nicole said, I love podcasting for those reasons. There's so much opportunity and possibility inside of it, and we're just getting started.
That part. I think that's the most exciting part, is that we really are. I think who's that? Somebody was saying Michelle Jackson was saying it's still in its infancy, and it really is. It's like, it maybe not infant, but it's a toddler though. It's like it's still early. And so we have the opportunity to really make sure that we leave our mark on this industry, and make sure that from the beginning that Black voices are being heard. And I love that, because it's cementing our legacy. Like Talib says all the time, he talks about this idea of making sure that our stories are included, and making sure that, like, we have the responsibility to tell our stories. Nobody else has the responsibility to tell our stories. And I think that podcasting gives us that outlet in a way that a lot of other media platforms don't really allow for, and because it's a freedom in podcasting that I think is just really beautiful. And because we are so early on, we get to shape what it looks like. We get to tell them what Black podcasting is in all of its facets. And so I love that. I feel very blessed to be a part of, helping to build that and helping to grow that.
I love those answers. Y'all didn't come to play. I love everyone listening. The same page. They're on the same page. I heard a lot of comments about infancy, just starting off, learning how to walk. Well, that one was me, learning how to walk. And even, showing appreciation for Nina. There was two other comments I want to touch on real quick, and then ask y'all a question. Dominic lost, and he shared, I think we're in a place with so many podcasts out there, and you have to continue to get better at the craft to stand out, better editing, better at hosting, better at storytelling, etc. And then there's this other one that came right before, but it was a perfect follow-up to it as well, with Chris Ward Jr., who shared very important to know your authentic voice and create your blueprint to deliver your message. Podcasting stuff. This is powerful stuff, because podcasting really is opportunity to do more than just our voice, like you're saying. Like when we talk about shaping the industry, it has this social impact to it as well, because it's like an opportunity for us to truly have ownership over our own story, our own culture. And then on the side of things, when Don was talking about getting better at editing, one thing that I've learned in the past year is just how many lanes there are in podcasting from a career perspective. So yeah, you could grow your show. So many opportunities out there. People are making a lot of people aren't making money, but there's a lot of people who are opportunities in using their podcast to leverage things. Side, like, there's people behind the scenes, like making bigger shows run, and they're actually looking to give back to people as well. And it's like everyone's doing this simultaneously and creating these different circles. So my next question is career opportunity podcasting. Each of y'all have identified podcast professional. What does that mean for y'all? And I'll start with Talib on this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the message, is that podcasting is viable. There's so many reasons to be a part of this and share our genius and our innovation. But more so, and one of the reasons why I started Afros and Audio was not just the community, because that's the piece where you get the support and the resources around getting better, whatever better is for you.
Mm,
Um, but the idea that there are so many ways in which we can build ourselves inside of this industry, and and to be able to get people together, again, just bringing it back to the conference, being able to get people together and say that there isn't one way. In fact, there's not just one way, there's not just two ways or three, there's multiple ways. And that, not even if you're a part of the podcast industry already, there's so many ways for other skill sets that can be transferable to podcasting.
mm,
And so when we're looking at saturation, or people saying so many podcasts, right? Not by us. We only take up a percentage of podcasting. So there's so much more room for our voices, our genius, our professionalism, all of that to lend to podcasting. But there's a lot of space where people are focused, right? Writers are focused on writing and books and all these sort of things. Uh, People who want to write for television or create films, they're focused on YouTube and or a TV pilot, whatever, what have you. There's so many ways to transfer those same skills into podcasting, where you don't have to wait for anything. You don't have to wait for someone to give you the green light on a project or a big budget, but you have opportunity right here and now. And one of the things I love about podcasting and audio in general is that it's foundational. For me, it's like a cornerstone. When you think of something that you can build off of, you can create one piece of audio and build so much out of it. And that's the important piece of it. You can produce one piece of audio and show it like, this is what I can do. And people who
Mhm.
want to take you seriously want to see you working, whether you're getting looked at or not. What are you creating? What are you producing? What are you doing even when people aren't watching? What are you doing when you don't win the award, or when you don't get selected? And I'm gonna turn it over to Nicole and Latrice, but that is another reason why it started. Having one of those conglomerates that opened up submissions for women of color, and 17,000 women submitted and 13 women were chosen. And for me, my consideration was how many women stopped in that moment because they didn't get that look. And so it's time out for that. We're in a space where we're free people, and we get an opportunity to build what we need to build to get ahead, and we don't have to wait for other opportunities to happen. And so yeah, there's a lot.
cool.
Podcast is viable. It's time to be in here in all the ways.
That I had to bring this
Yeah.
comment right back
Yeah.
up because we have the authority to tell our own story. That's fire. That's
Mhm.
fire. But yeah, please continue.
So I'll just kind of add or expand on what Talib said and what Nicole said earlier. Nicole talked about the Edison Black Listener Report, which came out last year. Is the first of its kind in terms of having a actual statistical accounting of Black podcast listenership. And so it really gave us some insight into, first of all, the fact that Black people do listen to podcasts, and second of all, what Black people want from their podcast. And so there was, the statistic that Nicole identified is, Nicole is the numbers person, so she know the numbers. I don't know the numbers like that, but I know it was a high percentage, a high percentage of Black listeners who identified that they would be more willing to listen to a category that they're not currently listening to if there was a Black host, or if the perspective on the topic was about Black people. And so Black people want to hear about Black people. Black people want to hear from Black people. And so, like you talked about before, Walter, there's so much that goes into making these shows happen. There's so much behind the scenes. And, I was kind of mentoring this young lady. She didn't really know what she wanted to do, but, she thought she might want to go to business school. And I was like, girl, you need to go to business school and you need to learn the podcasting industry. Learn the podcasting industry because it is a viable career option. There is lots of need for podcast business managers, podcast network managers. Like there's so much need. Anything that you need in any other industry, you need that in podcasting. Nicole does data and analytics. You need that for your podcast. One of the shows that I produce, Black Women Stitch Please podcast, which is the official podcast of Black Women Stitch. Shout out to Lisa Wolford. Nicole did some work for Lisa that allowed her to put together a presentation to present for sponsorships. The numbers that she already had. She just didn't know what to do with those numbers. She didn't know what those numbers meant. She didn't know how to make sense of those numbers. And when we looked at it, I was like, damn, Lisa doing all right for herself. Her numbers were really good, but they were not helpful to her because she didn't know how to do it. In comes Nicole with this analytics background, who was able to help her in a very real and meaningful way. People don't think about that is a need in podcasting. We need marketing specialists. We need engineers. We need producers. We need directors. We need actors. We need, production assistants. We need everything that is needed in any other media industry. Podcasting needs that as well. So when we talk about monetization, because a lot of times for indie podcasters, monetization is always the number one topic, and understandably so, right? Because we see all of this money moving around in the podcasting industry, and there is a lot of money to go around in the podcasting industry. But I always try to encourage indie podcasters who are interested in maybe taking it to a professional level to look at the breadth of what is available for you in podcasting. You don't have to have a 10,000 a month download type of podcast in order to make money in podcasting. You don't have to be the Read. You don't have to be the Friend Zone. You don't have to be a top 100 podcast in order to make money in podcasting. You can actually build a career in podcasting that allows you to be creative and allows you to utilize the skill sets that you already possess, those transferable skills that can be applied specifically to the podcasting industry. And because the industry, again, is so young, you have an opportunity to establish yourself as an OG. This right now, we in OG territory right now. Right? Because podcasting is so young. So if you're able to make a name for yourself in your specific area of expertise right now, 10 years from now, you're OG. Right? And you have a career that you can be proud of. So look outside of just being the top podcast. That, yes, that's a great goal to have, but the reality is that it ain't but 100 podcasts that's gonna make it on that list, and the likelihood that you're gonna be one of them is slim, and that's purely off of numbers. There's millions, thousands of podcasts, so yeah, I just encourage everybody to just think outside of the box. How can you engage with the industry in a way that's different from the norm?
I like that.
I love that. Real quick before you go, Nicole, I just want to say one thing, especially about the top podcast thing. Earlier, it was either earlier this year or late last year, there was an article that went out that said the podcast industry isn't creating any new top 100 shows. And at first, like a shot at podcasting like it's over. But really, there's a look at the top 50 shows, and they notice that the names we see this year are the same names we saw last year, the year before that. These shows have become the OGs, like what you're talking about, and they're still there. They're still. You could shoot for the top. Like, if you have a whole show, that go for number one, but I'd be realistic and understand how the podcast industry is working and how it's moving. And like Crystal's saying, there's a lot of lists. There are lots and lots of lists. There's a show I manage who they're not like audience size. They're not top 50 podcasts added to a list of top healthcare podcast list in 2021. And that's huge. That's a big deal. Just being on any top 50 list. There's different ways to move in this world. It's like Lou just said. It's all about leaving a footprint and making a difference in the lives of others. Well said. Well said. All right, Nicole, stop your flow. I'm really curious for this. And I also have a specific question. What you had on your mind?
Yeah. So in relation to what does being a podcast professional mean, right? To me, anyway, me individually, right? Like I would say, even before delving into other realms of podcasting, like as a podcast host, I also looked at myself as a podcast professional, right? Like I took my podcast serious, and that looked like consistency. That looked like setting up systems so I wasn't going back and forth with people that wanted to schedule an interview, right? Like, here's my Calendly link, get on this interview. Sending all of those following up when I needed to, creating graphics that were, appeasing, but really taking myself and what I was doing seriously, right? And I think that is what professional means to me individually, right? So even if you're a podcast, right? And I don't want to say just, that's the word that came in my mind, but a podcast host, I feel like you are also a podcast professional, or you should be, and you should look at yourself like that. A lot of times they say podcasting is like running a business, and I do agree with that wholeheartedly. It's so many things that happen behind the scenes, right? It's similar to running a business that has to happen to produce a successful podcast, right? Like when I coach my clients to become podcasters, they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize all of the things that happen behind the scenes. It's a lot of things, right? So in relation to individuals that are thinking about, doing other things in podcasting besides becoming a podcast host, right? There's podcast management, which could be the administrative end of podcasting, right? So if you're good with administrative items, or what is that, like business operations, and that may be a good area for you. It's coordination, and handling all of those different things. Like Latrice said, the analytics, look, that's holla at your girl, right? It's the graphics. If you're good at doing graphics, people that have podcasts need graphics. It's the outreach managers, people that are finding people to be on other people's podcasts, right? And again, a lot of us play all of these different roles, and I think we don't take the time to give ourselves credit for all the roles that we're playing when we're producing our podcast, right? It's the audio engineer. It's the writer that's writing up the material or coming up with the script or the outline, right? So, and Latrice talked about, marketing and all of those other things, right? And then podcasting can lead into speaking. Like that's when I started speaking. Once I became a podcaster, I've been in a book, like just all of these different things that podcasts opened the door to, or podcasting opened the door to.
I love that. And Lou, I see your question in there. It's a very good one. I want to get to it, but a few other questions I need to ask before then. Now, Nicole, a few different times we've heard pop up with your name. We've heard analytics, your name. So I cannot keep going without asking you about these two things. But the first question is, how did you develop your background in analytics?
Oh, well, I graduated from Rutgers University in Newark, New Jersey with a degree in computer science, right? So I went to school for computer science. And when I came out of school, I did things with databases. So like totally that was the part of computers that I actually like, database management, as well as project management. So combining those two is what allows me to be successful in that area as far as data. I'm one of those weird people in the world that actually like to look at numbers and crunch the numbers and figure out what story the numbers are telling, because they're always telling a story, right? And you can manipulate them different ways to, get the story to look the way you need it to look, right? Not lying, right? But being able to tell that enticing story with those numbers, it's just a thing. It's one of my things.
One of your
And
things.
Nicole is the perfect example, I think, of, what we were talking about in terms of like those transferable skills, because Nicole was introduced to podcasting just a few years ago, right? How long has it been? 5 years, right? 5 years that you've been
It'll be 5 years.
podcasting? It'll be
2018.
okay. So just about 5 years Nicole has been podcasting, but she's been doing data analytics way before that,
20.
just in a completely different capacity. So she learned the podcasting industry and she applied the skills that she already possessed to this new industry, and she has opened up a whole brand new lane for herself to be able to really build a viable career in this business, in this industry, because I don't know a whole lot of people that do what Nicole does. When she told me she was going to do it, I was like, girl, I don't think I ever heard of that before, but I think that's a good idea, but it was skill sets that she already possessed, and she's just figuring out how to apply it to the podcasting industry. I think she's a perfect case scenario.
Definitely a perfect case. Also, Latrice, I think you might be reading my mind, because I was about to be like, that's a great transferable skill. Then you came through, but you added a lot more. So I'm glad you did. Appreciate you. But Nicole, that's what's up. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's really amazing. That's amazing. I love that you could see that this might be a lane, and speaking about it with Latrice. She's like, I don't know, but yeah, try it out. So I dope support, but you're able to see something. You're like, no, I'm gonna do it regardless of what people are saying. I was speaking to someone earlier today, and he was looking into websites in the early 2000s. Up with someone like, yeah, about to get into this website stuff, and they were laughing at him. I'm like, what? For what? Like, why that? Why that? What you gonna do with a website? No one cares about that. That's the same thing with podcasting. I got the same comments. Like, people were supportive, but they didn't understand it. So, I mean, I guess if you want, but yeah, now we're starting to pay attention and get a little bit, because we're kind of popping up in the celebrity space and podcasting. People who were nowhere close to that starting to, be on the red carpet and everything. So not only is it like transferable as far as getting into podcasting, but podcasting really sets you up for everything. Dominic actually best, podcasting
I love
now.
that
It's like the
comment.
gold rush shit.
Yeah.
Most of the successful people were not the ones who found the gold, but the people who sold shovels and other tools for finding gold. Okay, Dominic, I see you. Yes, talent,
That's deep,
reach,
Dominic.
and
That's
money.
deep. That's deep.
That is. That's interesting. That's how the world works, right? Apple with the iPhone and smartphones, but they put their name on it. Their thing. They came in second. So I love that. Now, Talib,
And then Android perfected it.
you know what? I'm an Android advocate. I do have an iPhone, but I'll always fight for my Android people. I see y'all. Just a quick watching right now. Are y'all ask? Because I gotta know if I'm the only one, or if I could bring you on as an Android advocate too. I'm just on iPhone on the inside. I'm the inside man. I'm fighting for y'all. Yes. All right. So I want to come back to you, Afros and audio, because this is this festival. We got Steve here. What's up, Steve? I see you. Appreciate you. Steve's someone who went from having a completely different career to starting his own podcast to truly going full time as a podcast. And he was doing that because he had all community supporting him and everything like that. So when I hear about like Afros and audio coming within a month, it's like, okay, it's time. I'm excited. But can you just share a little bit about what this festival is?
Sure. I mean, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for podcasters people who happen to podcast, to get together and gather and network. I feel like people come with questions and ideas and concepts of things they want to do or ways in which they want to improve on what they're doing. And for me, the goal has been that you lead with a community of support and resources that will get you there sooner than if you were on your own. And so for me, the conference means everything to us, ensuring that we are together in this thing that we're working to make sure is viable and remains viable. And it's again, it's founded in my belief that people are powerful, and especially people in their collective power can do a lot of things and get a lot of things moving. And so it's about building our own table, make sure that we provide tools and resources for people to build tables, but also making sure that people who have those tools and resources can help us build our table. It's about all of us, and that's why I say that this is community led and driven. If it was about me, I would have made it bald head and audio, but I didn't. It's about us. Um, it's about us, and I really want this to be something that not only are we building a legacy inside of, but we're really understanding the power that we have inside of podcasting, and that takes conversation, that takes networking, that takes being able to look each other in the eyes and have some integrity, and really wanting each other to win, because when one of us wins, we all win, when we have that mindset and we have that spirit. And it's real. Anybody who has attended a conference, Afros and Audio conference, will tell you that it's real. The way in which we work with one another, the way in which we interact, the way in which we engage, it's real. And I feel very qualified to lead communities, because I come from a rural community, of Black folks and rural Maryland town, and we bartered and we shared and we lifted each other up, and we helped each other at all costs. And so that's what this is for. It's about that social economics. It's about that ecosystem of people understanding what we can do together. And so it's important. It's important. It's I feel like even though we're in our 4th year, we're still in the beginning of this. There's a lot of people who still don't know that Afros and Audio exists. And so that's something that, I encourage people to make sure that, Raphael, that we make sure that, people know that this exists, because a lot of creatives work in silos. A lot of creatives don't reach for support. And I always say it's not fair to say you don't have support when you never reach for it. And so this is the opportunity, right, to get the support and resources that people require to keep on going, to sustain their podcasts, to increase Black podcasts in the global market, and which will increase listenership, which will support our data, which will allow us to monetize. It's a system, and so we're at the foundation level. We're at ground zero, and so that's Afros and Audio from my perspective.
I know y'all have something to share on that as well, but I just want to say, when y'all have heard Talib mention community a few. Community has become, I'm noticing it's, and people have different words they flock to, like followers, audience, community, ecosystem. But when you say community, you really mean community. You're one of the few that's like, yes, community. Like, I went to it last year. I got to speak and tune in and listen and learn and take notes and meet all these amazing people. But what I loved about it is I didn't just stop at the festival. Scorpio November, the podcast friend of mine show, she was hosting clubhouse rooms in audio. Like, she already had her own rooms going on, but she was like, okay, yeah, I would love to. Well, I don't know how it went down, but it's essentially she was hosting these clubhouse spaces for people to come in to learn and talk about podcasting. And I love examples like that at different moments. Got podcast association that beautiful evolution and creating help support as well. And it's a really cool ecosystem, and I love that. And I love that. Also, real quick info we could blast on social Afros and Audio on all the
Always,
platforms.
Yeah.
always.
There, y'all, the schedule and the speaker
Not yet. Yeah, that'll be released next week. The
next
agenda,
week.
we have it together. We've been doing a lot of work in the background to make sure we do it right. The speakers, the agendas, and so that'll be released next week. But I wanted to just add one more thing to that, because I remembered in the beginning of Afros and Audio when it started as a seed, as an idea, and I always told myself that I wanted to be about the day after the conference, not the conference. The conference is a good time. It will always be a good time because when we're gathered, we know how to do it right. But it was about the day after. Do people stay connected? Do we actually improve our podcast? Do we actually get the skill set to keep moving forward and sustain our podcast? Because if we aren't doing that, and there isn't a community and for place for people to land and to say, listen, I'm feeling this sort of way about my podcast, or I need this support in my podcast. If there wasn't a place for them to land, then what are we doing? We can have an event all day long. We can just party. That's a good time. But this is about us making sure that the day after the Afros and Audio Podcast Festival, whether it's this year, next year, the years before, that there's actual impact. And if we're not doing that, then I truly don't want it, to be honest with you.
And, just to
I
kind of
feel
add
that.
to that, a lot of the relationships that I have in podcasting, I got through Afros and Audio. Nicole and I, for example, we met at, what was it? Was it last year before last?
Well,
Yeah, year before last, the 2020 festival for the pregame party. Nicole jumped up in my DMs on the Zoom, and she was like, "Hey, you from New Orleans?" So and from that we have developed a real life friendship. I'm going to her son's birthday party in a couple weeks, like we have a real genuine friendship. And because of that friendship, I got to know her. I got to know what she was capable of. And so when Afros and Audio started looking for someone to help out with sponsorships, I was like, oh, I know just the person. I know exactly who we could get for that. So we have a real life friendship that also allows us to be able to work together. And I think that that's like, it's a beautiful thing. When we say community, we mean family, we mean like, this is your people. Like Shamiko, I ain't never met Shamiko, but I show Shamiko, you coming to Philly, you better be coming to Philly, Shamiko, because I can't wait to just wrap my arms around her and hug her, because Shamiko, she is a part of the Afros and Audio family. And with the partnership that we have with the Black Podcasters Association, shout out to Corey Gums. But with the partnership that we have with the Black Podcasters Association, we're able to really expand that family as much as we can. And our goal is to introduce ourselves to as many Black podcasters as we can, and just let them know that there is a family available for you if that is what you're looking for, because not everybody looking for that. But if that is what you're looking for, there is a family available to you to be a part of. We want you to be an active participant. We always happy to see you. We always happy to engage with you. We are always ready to, invite you in and educate you and work with you and collaborate with you and hear your suggestions, or just hear you vent if that's what you want to do. Like whatever it is that you need, we're here to support you for that. And that's family, that's family that does that.
mm, it, y'all, on an hour, we're gonna end soon. Another question for everybody, but if you're catching this live and you missed the beginning, you're gonna want to have to hit rewind when this is over. Otherwise, you're not gonna know what Raphael's talking about when he said to live right here repping the bald union. Make sure you get to the beginning conversation about the opportunities that exist in the podcasting. And for real, we're gonna continue to be here, but there's already a lot of people who are there. That's another thing about it, right? With community, like it's good to be a part of it, so you know who's ahead of you, who you could support, who you could learn from. All these things different around when you are Black in the podcasting space. Yes, Afros in Audio. We didn't say when it is. When is Afros in Audio and where is it located?
October 22nd, 23rd at the Warwick Rittenhouse Square Hotel in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Woo woo!
In person, y'all. We're going to be in person. We've been waiting on this for a very long time because COVID, do what COVID do, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm very excited. I was looking at my flights last night. I was like, oh, I think I found the one I'm a get. But yeah, in person. I'm sorry, I'm just excited about that. I don't know about you.
Really excited.
I'm a theme person, so let's pull out the theme. Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love, and that is what Afros and Audio stands for, right? So it just all goes together, and we're super excited about
it. Yeah. It was always intended on being a in-person conference. The first one was in Brooklyn, New York, but COVID. So we pivoted, and we had 2 great virtual years, but we're back in person, and it'll be virtual as well, but in person is really what we're looking forward to. Yes, it will be, Vanessa.
It'll be virtual. I know I'm not gonna make it, so I'm gonna miss out on this stuff. I'm gonna force a few people to FaceTime me so I can live vicariously through them. But yeah, it's gonna be for virtual stuff too, for people like me who can't be here, who can't go and see Al P, Raphael, Dominic, all these people. I think Steve might. I don't know if Steve's going, but now you are going. I called you out. What's up, Steve? Yeah, October. Once again, it's going to come around sooner than you know it. So go ahead and get those flights, the hotels, or I don't think any of y'all are hosting people. No, they got to get their own space.
None of us.
No, we don't live there. We don't live in Philly.
Okay, yeah, you can't go crash.
There are discounted rates through the hotel, right? There are discounted rates through the hotel. What's the
you can find everything. Yeah, you can find everything at afrosandaudio.com. Every single thing you want to know about the discounted rooms, transportation, parking, everything you can find at afrosandaudio.com. We make sure that all your information is right there.
Everything. I love that. All right, y'all. So question is, we've already talked about community a lot, right? But I think want to think about community and building community as far as like when we are at the festival, because it's one thing to show up, but it's also another thing when you come with a plan, not like an agenda. I got to do this, but can we talk about community and working to competition and how that can exist at something like Afros and Audio?
Well, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, my experience from the very beginning has always been that Black podcasters are interested in helping and supporting other Black podcasters. The podcasting industry, specifically the Black podcasting industry, it has been very welcoming. I can count on one hand, less than one hand, how many people I have encountered in this industry, Black people that I have encountered in this industry that I'm like, I'm good on you. I don't really need to do you. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, 98, 99% of the people that I've come into contact with are so willing to help and willing to give support, willing to answer questions, willing to connect you to opportunities. When I posted that I was going to be doing this live stream, I had some of my, Black podcasting folks, some of my colleagues in podcasting was like, oh, good job. Way to go. It's a very supportive community. And again, it's just one of the things that I love about Black podcasting. And we always happy to see each other. It don't matter where it's at, whether it's a Black event or if it's a white event or not Black event, we are always happy to see each other. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And it's one of my favorite things about the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
Right.
Afros and Audio, our mission, our vision statement is a commitment to community and collaboration. And so that's our foundation. And so anyone who comes to Afros and Audio or becomes a part of our community understands that there is no room for divisiveness. One, it takes away from the goal, the ultimate goal, which is the win. And we don't have time to be selective and exclusive with people when we all have a goal in mind, which is again to succeed inside of this industry, but also to be able to lean on each other when it comes to having community and when it comes to having being able to collaborate with one another. So I think that those are like the rules of engagement for Afros and Audio, period. And so and people learn that very, very early because of what we create. And so people who don't show up to Afros and Audio and the energy that isn't supported at Afros and Audio, they know who they are and they know why. We're going to be inclusive and accessible, or we're not going to do this again. And I love what's been created because I get to kind of step aside and allow for community collaboration to occur. And my dream is to one day really step back and make sure that people are in front of this in a way that I get to just be proud of the foundation that was created and built. But I want to delegate so hard that I don't even know when delegation is happening at some point in my life, because that's how far I see this going. But it can only do that with community. And I know that there are times when community has failed and disappointed and not lived up to what it says it will be. There's a lot of times that people create community so that they can have access to the community, but not so that the community can have access to each other. And you won't find that here. And I'm committed to that. And as long as I'm here and I'm with Afros and Audio and I'm pushing it forward, that's what it'll be. So, and I'm very proud of that.
I love that. Can I jump in with my
Absolutely.
2 cents, right? I really think it is about an abundance mindset, right? Like there are enough resources in this world for all of us. And I believe historically, from, just some of the situations that we've been through as a people, we are taught to hoard and, to like look out for this person and look out for that person, even if it is our own people, that look like us, right? But I believe wholeheartedly that narrative is being broken, right? And we understand this abundance mindset that there is enough resources for all of us, right? And I believe that when we help other people, it also helps us, right? And then in addition to that, there's power in numbers. Right. So coming together with other people makes you more powerful as opposed to feeling like you have to go out there and figure it out all by yourself and do it all by yourself. No, get together with someone. How can you all work together to make that thing great and be mutually beneficial for each of you? Right. And if there is some collaboration, it's just a PSA, right? Make sure that things are in writing and things like that, right? So we don't get into those sticky situations, right? But there is an opportunity, to collaborate, and be great together, right? And not have to feel like, this is mine or this person is going to outshine me, because you are you and no one is you, right? So even if it's a million people talking about your topic or doing what you're doing, nobody is you. You have your unique gift that only you can possess, right? And you bring that to the forefront and you be great and allow yourself to be great alongside other people, because it's just the smart way to do things, right? No big business, no big, organization is run by one person. It's just not happening.
It's not happening. It's not happening. If it is, then you gotta look behind the curtain. Something's weird's going on. Does if for whatever reason not letting me pull up the comments, but I see a few of y'all coming through. Kenneth, what's up? Appreciate you joining. Kenneth shared all about creation at this point. I haven't really focused on podcasting from the lens of competition. You can't do it that way, because why? Who are you competing with for real? No one cares. Yes, and then also Shamiko said that even online, happy to see other Black podcasters sharing their expertise on different platforms. Shamiko also came through in comments. Discounted rates right now. So go ahead, get those bookings in Afros and
Discount rates until
audio.com.
9/23. Sorry
There,
for talking over you. Discounted rates until 9/23. That's when it ends for the hotel.
9/23. Pretend that said 9 tomorrow. Tomorrow is when it's over. Get those tickets now so you don't forget.
Yeah.
Get those tickets now. I was trying to do something different. It's like it wasn't 9/23, 9/03, but it's September 6th. That don't work. Yo, I appreciate y'all's time. Everyone joining in, tuning in, have a up. I'm excited about all things podcasting. I love the content strategies, but I love to talk about podcasting. So I'm a podcaster first. Before we go, any last words, last thoughts that you want to lead the people with? Talib, we'll start with you.
Yeah, show up. Show up to the conference. Show up for yourself. Show up for the peoples. Show up. It's going to be a good time, but you also are going to learn a lot. You're also going to it's a space for belonging and authenticity. So we want you to come prepared to get your questions answered, and leave with a community of support when you go. So just show up October 22nd, 23rd in Philadelphia.
Of that, Nicole.
All right. Well, first of all, shout out to you, Walter, for having us and this platform. I love the way you got everything flowing and pulling in the people. And, I just think it's super great, right? And really focusing on the future of Black podcasts and audio professionals, right? That's really important. So, my PSA is that our voice has power, our voice matters. Right. So if you're a podcaster, keep podcasting. If you want to be a podcaster, get out there, and learning how to do so. The best way to do that, or one of the best ways, is to come to the Afros and Audio Podcast Festival. Right. So hope to see you there.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Me?
Yeah,
Okay.
you took a deep breath like you were ready to go. I was
because I'm like, I agree. I agree with everything Talib said. I agree with everything Nicole said. I don't remember what movie it was, but bring yourself to the place. This is our first year back in person in a long time. It has been a long 2 years, or 3 years actually. It's because COVID's still rolling. I think we miss each other. We need each other. We need to see each other and touch each other and laugh with each other and have drinks with each other, learn from each other and grow with each other. And I think that Afros and Audio is the best place and the best space to do that. We are working extremely hard on bringing this festival to you all. This year it's extra, special because we got the virtual and we got the in-person. So a lot of y'all who attended the last 2 years, y'all know we know how to do this virtual situation. Y'all know we got that thing on lock. We know what we're doing with that, but you've never experienced us in person. And so this is the perfect opportunity for all of y'all that be in the chat during the festival talking about, man, I wish we was in person. Now is your opportunity, get your tickets and come on down. We are looking forward to seeing y'all. We're looking forward to interacting with y'all, collaborating with y'all, and just, welcoming y'all into the family. It's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. And I hope y'all are too.
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone who was here. Appreciate y'all for showing up for us tonight.
Absolutely. Nicole,
yes.
you had a
Nicole,
and tell a friend to tell a friend
to request.
Help us spread the word, right? Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yeah, don't hog it all for yourself. It's more than enough to go around. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Y'all, one last thing, fourth one, right? So it's like y'all coming to be a part of this community next, the founding four festival, founding 4 years, like fifth one is next year. That's gonna be a big just milestone number wise. Like come join the community now, be a part of it, learn how you could contribute to it forever thing. Also, Nicole, there was one last request to sharings from. I think it was natural something, but I forgot myself.
Again, natural for a reason. Natural for a reason. I think her website is naturalforareason.com. I hope she got these on the website. Look, I went to one of her pop-up shops. So, y'all don't come get me if these ain't out on the website. But naturalforareason.com.
We'll get you some security. But appreciate you for tuning in. So I'm bringing these Working While Black live shows back in October. I'm excited. Let me know if you have a special topic request, a special guest request as well that you want to see. Let me know if you want to be a part of the business spotlight too.